Today I want to talk about one of the easiest ways to make a painting stronger, and that's contrast. And it sounds obvious, but sometimes as we paint and get caught up in things, it's easy not to put enough contrast in certain areas. And so let me explain the benefits of contrast. So first of all, our eye notices dark and light before it notices color, which is really kind of cool. And you can put this to a test by standing, far away from a painting. If you ever have driven by a gallery or walked by and saw something really far on the inside that caught your eye, and you looked, and you would see that there was a lot of contrast most likely in that one. And that's what your eye picks up before it then notices the color. And it's a split-second thing, but it happens, and then once we turn and we look at it, we'll either want to get closer and look at the details, or we won't. So it has to pull us in, and then it's the other parts of the painting that come in to draw the viewer in. So contrast is by far one of the things that we can do to make a painting stronger and more interesting to capture the viewer's attention. So I've got a few examples here. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Now, these are not finished paintings at all, and I'm gonna have to go in and do things to them still, but the contrast is helping me make that decision because it's giving me something to react to. And then from that point, I make conscious decisions to ask myself, okay, what do I want to highlight next? What do I want to move the viewer's eye to? And that's all it is. So this one here, you can see there's a very strong contrast. I started going in, I had this color here, and I lightened it. So it's almost white, and on the camera it may look white, but it's actually not. So it does provide a really good contrast. And sometimes what I do along that border is I will bring in other interesting factors to sort of guide and move the eye along. But you can see there's dark and light throughout. And so now my decision is going to be, where do I want to go with that, right? But the contrast is there. This one as well, this is not white, it is actually a beige, but the pink has a couple things going for it. Even though it's transparent, and you may see this here, that it's transparent, it is bright and it is much darker than this color. So there is a dark light contrast. And from that point, what you do is decide, you make calculated decisions as an artist based on what you want it to feel. And then you start adding things in. And sometimes, honestly, we're gonna make mistakes and we're gonna go, oh, that was a total wreck. That's not what I wanted. It's okay. We start over. A painting is never, it's never ruined in acrylic. You can always paint over. And sometimes, we may not like that, and we may think, oh, I just ruined it. I wish I kept it. And that's happened to me many, many times. I just want you to know it's all part of your learning progress. Myself included, I learned so much from that. Take a picture if you're afraid you might mess it up, and that way you have that as a reference, and you could always go back and try to recreate. Now, keep in mind, it'll never be exact, but you actually build a skill by doing that, and you get closer and closer to creating what you want because you get practice. And doing something over and over again is gonna really solidify that in your artist brain and help you get there much easier and faster over time. So this one is still very dark against the light, and that's perfect. It stands out. And then this one here, you can see this part is what has the most contrast, right? And this is pretty too, but it is darker still. It's much darker than that. And I'm getting a couple of things I'm learning from this here, which I like, and I'm gonna be going back in and working on it some more. But this up here, the way the colors are blending and creating that little bit of mud is really bringing in a nice moodiness over the painting. And so that's giving me some information. And, you know, this very light blue here is also giving me great information. And so now I'm asking myself, where do I want to highlight? How do I want to proceed with this? The dark and light contrast is really important here. And I'm going to have to make decisions of proportion and where I want to go with this contrast now, right? And that's what's going to inform me. But the fact that there is contrast there to begin with is the best way to start. It makes my job so much easier as an artist. And then one last one I want to show you is this here. So contrast doesn't always have to be bright. That, you know, these may have appeared brighter on there, but if you look at this, it's not bright, but it does have really good contrast in here. This is a very light beige gray and a very dark color next to it. It's not black, it's actually dark brown. But when you stand back and look at it from the distance, your eye is going to notice that contrast. And then as you get closer, you will see I have quite a bit little like quiet markings in here that are so subtle that you have to get up close to notice it. Yet this blue-green here is going to be noticeable from farther away. And so all of that with the contrast is going to provide some really good sophistication and allows for the viewer's eye to move around, yet still gives areas of rest. Now, I'm not saying every painting has to be this way, but these are just some really easy places to start when you're looking to make a painting that's really strong in composition and pushes you closer to that mood that you want to have. So try that, start with that. You don't have to stay there. When you feel like you have a better holding in that area, then you're gonna actually start pushing yourself a little further and seeing, well, can I add contrast somewhere else? And then you'll see what that does to the overall composition, and you go from there.